We're live. It's an evening show with Tijo this evening. It's a little redundant on the evenings, but I guess that's what happens. It's approximately 8:31 p.m. here at Costa Rica, May 1st. Welcome to May, everybody. What a great month. We're entering, or already entered into Taurus, one of the land movers. It's always nice to feel the momentum. We've been digging in the garden, moving some earth around, rocks more specifically, getting the rocks out of the way so we can put some seeds in the greenhouse the next few weeks. So excited to see the rains back. The jungle's a wonderful place. So tonight's episode, the live market updates. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the bear family, and I hope that seems to be a bunch of you, you know how random and non-specific my specifics might be. So I just want to start off also by thanking all of you for your support. This has been such a wild ride. The entire bear family experience is overwhelming. Learning how to build community when I live in a small community, right? It's like maybe 1,000 people in some of the surrounding areas. It's not a whole lot of people, right? Sometimes often more animals. I'm sure there's more animals that live close by than people at the particular moment. But the point of this is the ability to build a community out with the internet is something that's relatively new. I didn't even realize it was a thing. I did it kind of by accident. The reason I started the Arcane Bear is I wanted to share a bunch of information. I wanted to communicate my random ideas, and there was work I wanted to do that I felt, the media space needed. It was a kind of a brilliant idea, but I didn't really understand what I was doing because I had never done it before, and at least in this particular context where, Anyways, I want to thank all of you for the support. It's been an absolutely wonderful ride, and I look forward to the future and the present moment that we have. So tonight's live market updates are going to be a bunch of Ask Me Anything. We're trying a Wednesday night live show as also in side conjunction with, I guess, the Sunday show. So the reason we're doing that is just for fun, because I like doing the live shows when we first started this. I guess it's just a great way to build a community, communicate together, and I guess get to know one another through the chats instead of just the comments, because you guys are all live, so we can look at things together. It's a bit more effective this way. So let's see if I can get this to work. I'm going to flip it over into the share screen, and we'll just dive into some of the charts. So, again, this is why I thank you guys for putting up with all my ranting. This light is so bright. This is the only downside about doing night shows, is the lights have to be so much brighter. Oh well. So we're looking at Bitcoin on the weekly right now. That's a nice one. Zooming out. Okay. Little trading view had frozen there for me. Let's see if we can get that to function again. Nope. Okay, right back to a new chart. Both frozen. Well, I've never seen that before. TradingView. I wonder what's going on. It could be the new keyboard I just added. I just added a keyboard, and it's probably making errors or some nonsense. Oh, jeez. Well, this is tricky. Okay, software updates. Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, Bear Family, I don't know if I know how to use a computer. I think my keyboard's making errors, and I don't want to keep this screen open. Okay. Oh yeah, it's got the hot corners button. Oh no. Oh well. And the trading view screen is basically frozen. Okay. Well, excuse me. This is I've never had this problem with TradingView before, so it must be the new keyboard. Okay. I'm just going to try to solve this now because we're live. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the technical difficulties of going live. Are you new? Have you used a computer before? Is this your first time here? Jeez. Keyboard. Okay. Set up Bluetooth keyboard. Done. Set up Bluetooth keyboard, then just, remove. Okay, there we go. Let's see if that solves the problem. Nope. I have no idea. Yes, it did. Okay, silly keyboard. Getting in my way. Okay, we solved that. I'm glad we solved that. Who would have thought it was the keyboard to begin with? Okay, where did we go? Just on a rampage with TradingView right now. Okay, here we go. On the weekly for Bitcoin. That took a lot longer than I expected. I think these live shows are me practicing my comedy routine subtly. So for those of you that don't know, I really like comics. I think they do great things for the world. I love laughing. Anyways, here we go. TradingView, Bitcoin and the weekly chart. That took a lot longer than I had anticipated. So we're stepping up against some of the important EMAs, right? The long-term outlook here is one of the, we've been looking at Bitcoin for a long time, right? From $90 to now, I've been through all sorts of crazy, wild environments. The only thing that I have to remind myself, and I constantly do, is that the appreciation of wealth comes from your ability to like appreciate the rain. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you love the rain, you're wealthy. It's like a rule of thumb. That's why so many people want to practice things like meditation and yoga. It's because if you're in touch with nature, it's a ridiculously beautiful thing. So with Bitcoin here, we're following some of these moving averages, and this excitement that took place as we ran up to $20,000 is kind of reminiscent of other things in life. Like I remember when I first started playing the drum kit. So I guess these live episodes are going to be super random, but I remember when I first started playing the drum kit, your mind kind of allows you to get what you think is good. Like, because the first times I thought I was playing, I was like, yeah, I'm doing really good. But when I listen back to the very first recordings, like 15 years ago, I'm like, whew, some of that was definitely far from good. But the buffering speed, like the amount of excitement, the exuberance that goes into it. Like when I first started playing, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like the best. That type of irrational thinking is, I think it's very noticeable in the markets. So what we're trying to understand is often, how does everyone feel about this? And I said this before, we've walked off into la la land. I believe the S&P 500 was at all-time highs and then dropped back down. So we saw market sentiments that don't make a whole lot of sense. The main attitude here is that everyone's been, okay, everyone could be running into the US dollar and the stock market in the United States, but it doesn't make any sense. There's no real value here anymore. I'm still quite concerned that the only reason we're up this high is because they've inflated the dollar so much that the prices of everything will continue to rise. It's not that the products have gotten any better necessarily. In fact, they should have gotten a lot cheaper. Technology is a deflationary product by its nature. So this overwhelming exuberance, not just in Bitcoin, but in everything, is just, it's very irrational, right? And the markets need to become rational for some time. And there's a great quote, I think it says the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain liquid or illiquid. I forget which terminology it was. But the point of this is when things like this are happening, when they're irrational, I remember back in 2016 being like, oh man, this is it. This is the first little stock market downwards trend here is like, oh, we're going down. It didn't happen. We just kept going up and up. So the postulate with Bitcoin here is, I've been bearish for quite some time, and I actually am still bearish in the short term. In how much bearish now? Okay, well, we're going to find out, right? Because on the weekly, we can see that we were probably going to come down and test this 200-day moving or 200-week moving average here. Right? It just seems sensible. Now, if we break above this stronger EMA downwards, I think it's the 100 and the 50 EMAs that we're hitting up here. I've got the MR Madrid right now, and it doesn't actually show me the colors, so I forget which one's which. But anyways, the point of this is, if we break above it, that would be great. We could see a fantastic run, but there's just so much downward pressure from the 6,000 to $6,500 area. It's very unlikely we could break through that. Like we bam, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times coming down from $20,000 at least, and then we stabilized there. A lot of us thought I had thought we had stabilized there. I was like, yes, Bitcoin's being stable. This is amazing. Nope. Of course it's not. We're not in that time yet. We're still in a very irrational market everywhere. So this is the reason I like ranting about this type of stuff is because what's entertaining to me, and that's why I like doing it, is because it's all entertaining to me. I love doing what I am doing. That's why I do it. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing the things like, again, that's why I make the charts are all colorful. It's entertaining to try to understand irrational behavior. Just in general, that's a great premise, like trying to logically understand emotion. I was pondering this before I jumped on the live show, but I was thinking of all the things that connect people that like BTC and DMT. Now, what's the thread that connects those things? And this is really the fundamental principle of why I like charting, because it's trying to logically understand the irrational world, the chaos of the emotional infrastructure sometimes. But anyways, I'm much more interested in some of the philosophical aspects about Bitcoin, about decentralization, which is what's so extremely worrying when you hear people like Craig Wright talk about certain things. Actually, he said a few things I'm like, oh, that was a great idea. And he says other stuff I'm like, oh man, this guy is so ridiculous, right? But I mean, the same thing could be said about me. So I'm not... What I'm trying to say is that this is a very, very interesting time and place. The history that is happening right now, because of what the technology will do to every single sector, is just fascinating to be a part of. And I like the colorful charts and screens because for me, it's a relationship to understanding these kind of irrational behaviors, not just in the markets, but in myself. And using, the Fibonacci sequence, right? There's relationships to the way we're understanding. So if we grab the fib, right? This was a good one. And we draw it out here. We'll take out a vlog as well for this one. Anyways, I'm just going to keep ranting, and then we'll go down and we'll answer some questions. The reason for the rant is because that's what Wednesday nights are for. I don't know why not, right? Oh, you know what? I should probably make sure that I'm even showing you guys a screen. I've definitely done that before. I'm like, oh, not even screen sharing now. The mic's not working. The stream's dead. Is the stream dead? Ladies and gentlemen, is the stream dead? I believe it is. Yeah, I'm not sure if the stream is even live right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can give me a thumbs up here. I'm just seeing. I'm not sure. Let me know if we are still live, because I had a red signal come up on the streaming platform there. Oh, it shows me down at the bottom. That's always a helpful little indicator. I did not realize that. Hey, we're learning things. I'm learning something. Anyways, fascinating experience the Wednesday night evenings. This, I guess, is the point of the live show, is that the live shows back in the day were always super random. I mean, I remember we do videos for like an hour. So I probably shouldn't call these Bitcoin live updates. I should probably edit the name of this video right just right now. It's like Tijo ranting randomly. There's no specific direction with this evening's video whatsoever here. Let's do that. We'll just change it right now. I wonder if it will let me do that, which is Tijo's random rants. Tijo random ranting in the evening. This is pretty much exactly what it is. We'll be a little more transparent with our video title here, because I'm not necessarily sure I'm talking entirely about Bitcoin now. I'm just ranting off into la la land. Anyways, point of this is, because I swear I was trying to make a point, is I think this wall that we're hitting right now, the irrational wall that we're hitting, is not going to give us a bull move, right? We could still see that little bit of extra room up to the $60, $100 area, and that's quite likely. I don't suspect, we could very well see green here. Everyone's super stoked. The market, the S&P 500 is up, the dollar is up, like big things are happening in the crypto space across the board, right? Everyone's making moves, businesses are like, it makes sense that people should feel bullish, right? There's a lot of good stuff happening in this market. So that could give us that upward momentum, but again, it's off the downside here that we're probably going to see this bottom again anyways. We'll likely consolidate in this area once or twice more before moving out. So that means there's more time. And with that time, there's also what we've seen in the alternative digital asset world, is that there's massive jumps, because the market liquidity on any of this entire ecosystem in itself is tiny, right? How many different companies have market capitalizations bigger than the entire blockchain ecosystem, right? It's tiny. Like let's go to CoinGecko and today and take a look at the entire market capitalization. 173 billion today, right? Still an enormous amount of money. Like don't think I'm short selling 173 billion. That's an enormous amount of money. But there are other companies that have capitalization. What are the largest market capitalized companies? What are the largest market capitalization companies? I'm not even sure I said that correctly. Um, Alphabet is up at 722 billion, right? So Google's parent company and all of its subsidiaries are worth 7 times more the entire blockchain space currently, right? And Amazon here 795 billion, Microsoft 788 billion, Berkshire Hathaway 285. So the blockchain space is closer to Berkshire Hathaway. Which is probably somehow a secret inside joke that I don't know why is funny, but it made me laugh. I'm not smart enough to know all my jokes might be funny, but I think that was funny. Who's Berkshire Hathaway? While I'm shit talking, does anyone know? Yeah, these live shows are definitely the new title of Tijo Ranting is. I'm just jumping down. Is an American multinational conglomerate holding headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska. The aggregate of Warren Buffett. There we go. Parent of Warren Buffett. Let's see. Started in 1970. Of course, Warren Buffett. See, just I'm learning a bunch of things. So he's got subsidiary Dairy Queen, Heinz Company, more. One of the 6 largest private employers in the United States with just over 250,000 employees, says Wikipedia. Anyways, so we can tell that the entire market space of the blockchain world right now is quite small. So being bullish is definitely a great idea, especially because we know in the long term our sentiments here are to go to just absurd amounts because we haven't seen digital scarcity ever before in anything, let alone finance. It's the best place to put it first. And this is one of the arguments against the Bitcoin maximalism, is that digital scarcity works for so many things. Now, part of the argument I think has been, well, do you run it off the back of Bitcoin? And if you're doing that, are you adding risk to the original chain? You just have different separate chains for different types of ideas, and it makes sense. I think the decentralized nature of things in general, right? For instance, in the human body, you have all these communicating, collaborating cells that are built up that make us or you or animals or whatever it might be, trees, right? Rocks. Now you get more down to a molecular level. Let's stay at the cellular. Molecular is too small. I can't fathom the molecular level right now, but cellular, right, is almost this random collaboration of what appears to be non-sentient ideas. Like cells don't figure anything out. There's just chemical reactions that are taking place. This is Neil Thesis work. It's fantastic, very interesting stuff. But the point of it is, because we're all kind of collaborating unknowingly in this ecosystem of things taking place, the idea of decentralization is that consciousness doesn't exist in any particular place, right? So again, this is more to my philosophical interest in this space is that just the keyword decentralization to me is fascinating, right? Or the keyword of deflation. It doesn't matter where you put that keyword, it by itself is a very interesting topic. So in the idea of adding scarcity models to anything in the digital space is something we haven't seen before. So this is going to affect every industry. Now, the other reason we started Arcane Bear is because if it's going to affect every industry, what's the likelihood that it affects governance, right? Because banks and governance have always been in collusion for some of the biggest corruptive, well, that and religion too. Religion's done no, but we won't bash on religion right now. Let's just leave it at banks and governments. We don't want to have a threesome with those right now. It's already not dinner table talk. Governments, banks, it's like no one's allowed at the dinner table anymore for having those conversations. Someone's going to get angry. Anyways, the point of this, these are always sensitive topics because it almost like draws in corruption because there's a lot of power in those positions to be able to delegate large contracts for who's building roads or building weapons. That's it's just, of course things have gone wrong there. What did we think would happen? We gave power to people that were looking for power. Like that's not a particular, anyways. That's besides the point. These are definitely ranting evenings. Welcome. I'm glad we changed the title of this video because that way I don't feel so bad for anyone that's watching. Like, what the hell? None of this has to do anything with Bitcoin. This guy's just ranting. So I feel better about that. None of this has to do anything with Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll take some of your guys' questions. We'll go from there. Michael Kelly says, "Can you see this?" Yes, I can. But I'm a little delayed at seeing it, apparently. I just wanted to do a random rant evening. We didn't get to go live this morning, and I thought it was pertinent to just rant. So thank you guys all for bearing with me through the rant. We cut out there for a minute, still live. We can, yeah, we can see you. Do you have any MCO? I have no idea what that is. LTC back to 44, 47 maybe, very possible. It's Warren Buffett. Russ says it's Warren Buffett. Yeah, it's nice. Nailed it. I just... oh, did we lose connection again? No, we're green. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know what the point of I don't know what the point of the live shows are going to be. There's a whole. I've been brewing this. We've been building something for a long time now. It's a vision, and making a vision into reality is not always the easiest thing. It sometimes extends well outside of your ability to understand what it is, so that the way you end up to where the vision is trying to take you is not how you think you're going to get there. So a lot of it's kind of like guesswork. Because building something that doesn't not that doesn't exist, but it's more adaptive, right? So many things, if you're trying to do something that hasn't been done before, there's nothing new that's been under the sun that hasn't been done yet, at least to some degree or another. Everything's been done. It's just different adaptations of the way things have already been done. And the better you can work with the way things have been done, essentially, if let the universe kind of empower what it is that you're doing, the bigger the things it is that you can do. This is kind of a circle conversation. But the point of this is, one of the main things we want to do with the Arcane Bear, with this community, is start to drive out, I guess, more eclectic types of content. When, doing the vlogs, talking more about business, traveling, some of that stuff is going to become more commonplace in what we're doing here. I love living in the jungle. So I will have my stable time here. We're actually going to be building out the studio a little bit. We're going to make this all bamboo and nice wood behind me. Well, that gives me something to do. I'm going to fix the lighting so it's not always so harsh. Get the other camera set up so it's a little clearer. And then we're going to start probably building some really interesting campaigns over the next few months. So one of the things that we've always wanted to do it's just, I like building stuff. I like doing work. I was mentioning this earlier. What I've noticed is that the more I try to do other things for other people, like in terms of business or just life, like helping inspire others and reminding them that they're powerful or that they're important to you. This all brings a lot of a positive feedback loop into your production capability for what you're interested in doing, because a big amount of the world needs other people to help other people, right? It's full of people already that are trying to help themselves. But I think the more people that you help, the easier it is to come about what it is that you need. And there's a lot of fantastic experiments in the psychological world that prove this. And I didn't grow up that way. I grew up pretty much trying to fight to get to where I was. I was just staying sharp and scrappy, right? Because it's a dog-eat-dog world out there sometimes. But I think more and more what a big part of this is learning how to get into the mentality of understanding that the more we do things for other people, the more likely it is that the things that we need are taken care of. And that's the fundamental business model behind a lot of this stuff, right? That's why people can make so much money, is because they're providing so much value to other people. So I think the whole point of this story is that because we have a media group now, I was chatting with a beautiful friend this evening, Leah Hayes. She does some really cool vlog work. She's worked in the nonprofit sector, helping do basically educational and cleanups for the reefs and stuff. So we want to go build vlogs, and we're talking about using all this different types of content and how many people, how we can get a crew together and where we can pitch these ideas and how these ideas can play out in the long term, and how we can do that in-house because it's part of building a business to begin with anyways, and what's the brand and anyways, it's a whole, I just love how abstract you can be when doing something. Now, focus is great, right? Amazon was like, yeah, we're going to sell books. That's our thing, and do your one thing. But, I like painting and all trying the charcoals and different instruments. I think an interesting part is getting used to failure. So the more you try to do things that you've never done before, the more acceptable failure becomes. You give yourself the opportunity to know that you're going to suck at it, even though you might think, yeah, I did a great job playing my drum kit for the first time, and you'll look back 15 years later and be like, oh, yeah, good job, little man. Great work. But you know that there's a massive amount of difference that comes into the world of time when you really practice and discipline yourself into something. So anyways, the random rants here tonight, there's no particular point from it. I shouldn't have made the video title anything to do with Bitcoin in the first place. This was more of like a personal sit down, almost like you guys are like my psychologists. just ranting. I'll answer some of your guys' questions. I have no idea why I wanted to rant so much, and it's probably not useful in any particular way. But I love sharing my thoughts, and I'm very grateful for the community to be able to do that, to live out in the middle of nowhere and sit down and rant with you so it's fantastic. And this damn light, I'm going to turn this light down. Okay. Wow. Tio, are you stoned? I did smoke a little bit of tobacco. So that's where the rant is coming from. You're probably right. I think we found the root of the rant. It's or the leaf of the rant, I'm not sure. Rant about what's going on in Venezuela. Okay. There we go. Nate, good thought. Okay, so Venezuela. Oh, what a horrible situation. I feel for the Venezuelan people. Venezuela. I did not spell that correctly. Thank God for spell check. So what a beautiful and rich country. What a brilliant group, community of people too. I've had the pleasure over the last few years of meeting some Venezuelan friends who have moved to Costa Rica or that have been into other countries that I've been traveling through. They're all very brilliant people, well, at least the ones I've met. I haven't met any unbrilliant ones. I don't know. Anyways, I'm probably biased. I don't travel and go out of my niche too much, but they've all been fantastic and intelligent people. So to see this happen in their country is quite sad. It's not like they're a bunch of ruffians where if you've ever been to Honduras in the last 30 years, it's a rough place. Just all around had been a rough place for a long time. Whereas Venezuela, they were doing great. They had a great thing going. A lot of people want to blame it on direct socialism. It is. That's also part of the problem. Dictatorship, tyranny at any level, regardless of what name you want to call it, is a bad thing. Whether it comes under the guise of socialism or fascism or even democracy, because it can end up in the place of democracy as well. We just know 2 or 3 leaders at the same time. There's one motherfucker. Whatever. It's the same thing. You didn't get 2 people. That's a bit more well-rounded, right? How many? It's a pretty big job for one person. You can't. Anyways, whatever. The point of this is back to Venezuela. So this is sad to see for their country because they're brilliant. They had a brilliant thing going up until the downfall of the dictatorial side. So then now you have Guido. It's not Guido. That's probably some dumb. Probably said something stupid there, didn't I? Guido. Anyways, I'm going to say his name improperly here a few more times, so I'm just not going to say it right now. But he's, I spoke very briefly with a friend of mine this afternoon from Venezuela, and he agrees that the sentiment behind the movement for this person is legitimate. That and I trust that sentiment. You got to trust the grassroots sentiment to some degree, right? It's not perfect because consensus models are never perfect. We used to think the world was flat, and we still think whatever. We still think the sun is nuclear molten lava like idiots. Come on, this is just ridiculous. So sometimes the grassroots might be wrong, but that's what we should be voting for. That's the group, that's the community, that's the people or whatever. Now, the positive side to this, at least in the blockchain space, is that we've seen positive adoption of Bitcoin, Dash, Digibyte in places like Venezuela because of the monetary controls and the massive amounts of inflation. You could see a country like this become one of the new go points, right? This is one of the really interesting side effects, is that this technology does really well in places that doesn't have infrastructure getting in the way, that doesn't have regulation getting in the way necessarily. They can maybe implement something a lot more quickly in terms of adoption of, okay, well, we're all going to use this now to go back and forth. It could be a very interesting story. Now, what comes of this, I guess, is that my heart is with the Venezuelan people, because I personally know that these are a beautiful, brilliant group of individuals, and that their grassroots movement deserves to win. I guess because I would support the people myself as well. So I'll go with I'll go with them. I mean, Maduro's doing some pretty disturbing things, right? This is all pretty disturbing. I won't play any of these videos, but if you've watched any of the videos, this is not for the faint of heart. They're doing something that's not easy, but you can tell that what they must have to go through is intense, because it's otherwise they wouldn't be going to this length, right? And this is one of those interesting things, is where you have the breakdown of governments and banks, is where technology like this can really do well. Or the other option is in places that don't just really have it yet, right? That's why Africa is such a hot topic, is because there's no infrastructure there at all, really. It's the same thing. The only difference is, well, I'm not going to say that necessarily. I'm just going to shut my mouth right there. And go back and look at some more of your guys' questions. So I'll end that off by saying that my heart and mind go out to the Venezuelan people and their fight for their liberties and freedoms the way they see fit, as their communities deem necessary. Because even though consensus models maybe aren't the best, at least everyone agrees with each other to some degree. You can find some version of truth together, and I think that's empowering for everybody. Okay, so back to the questions. We'll continue ranting. Welcome to Tijo's random rant in the evening. This is an Ask Me Anything section where I figured, why not? What else do you do with YouTube? I'm learning. We did a little bit of demographic research today. We realized that most of the people that follow the Arcane Bear are like 25 to 50. So we have no followers between the ages of 18 and 25. We've lost the entire younger demographic, and that's like the whole Bitcoin demographic that's coming up. Guys, I got to get better at this. We are not cool enough anymore. I'm one of the old guys. I had to download TikTok. I was like, what the fuck is TikTok? The hell is TikTok? It's a music app. It's like a music creator app like Instagram, but it's actually pretty cool. And 500 million plus downloads. It's the second best app on the app stores. I was impressed. So you got to pay attention. I'm obviously doing something wrong. I'm not cool enough anymore. It's only us old guys. It's all the 30. Oh, someone's gonna leave a comment about that one, about my comment. Okay. Duncan Voss says, can you explain your hold and mentality with the TA in face of exchanges that lack backing of institutional money trickling in? I've heard some birdie tweets in the background about some big players coming in to basically become competition, or I'm not sure how I'm going to say that, but they're looking to be one of the big exchanges, and that's probably all I can say. So I expect to see a lot more competition in this space over the next 2 years for everyone that comes in. Just expect more competition every step of the way. But I think, so the question is about TA in the face of exchanges. Well, a big part of the question here is how much regulation is necessary to implement the infrastructure to do what we need to do, right? Because the free market seems to do a pretty damn good job of regulating infrastructure. Now, the downside is people don't understand that anymore. And I've used this comment in a few sections, but we just don't know how to implement a lot of the power that we already have, because we give so much of it away to the governments and banks. So it's a very difficult topic to talk about, because it means taking back your power, right? The whole idea about Bitcoin is like, you can store your assets. Like, you can be like, yeah, I got my, like, I can hold my money, I can store it here, they can't take it from me, or, or they can try confiscating it, they did with gold, it's hard to say, is all this vaguality from it, whatever, you want it, okay, sure, I don't care, it's whatever. You can start from nothing too. My wealth doesn't come from money, it comes from my appreciation of what I already have. And if it's, for us anyways, I don't want to go off too far, but the point of it is that, okay, well, there might be a lot of wash trading. There might be a lot of bullshit in the markets. Like, okay, if we go to CoinGecko right now and we go exchanges, right? Look at some of these top exchanges. This is how much of it is bullshit. Fcoin, centralized bullshit. Look, I like that. They're all centralized now. Yeah, so this is the other point. This is the point of failure. Centralization and regulation go hand in hand. But if you want to see this space blow up in adoption, you have to see some sort of the regulation play with this side. Now, that's been happening over the last few years, but it still hasn't put on the on and off ramps for all the big boys. Otherwise, this would be more decentralized already. But we don't need this other aspect of the game, right? These guys are trying to get in, and they're offering other ways for bigger investors to get in, like family offices, and family offices are used to the custodial agreements and the management and the blah, blah, blah. It's just fees and paperwork because other people want to make sure that it's a business. The whole, everything's been business. Everyone's trying to help each other do business. That's hopefully what we're doing. But anyways, what the hell is Fcoin or Coinbean? It has $592 million on trading incentivized zero fees. Bigogo. And look, this is only a few, this 800 million from ZB. What's going on here? Don't know what these are. Never heard of BitMax. Never once. The hell is BitMax? Okay, so anyways, the point of what I'm trying to, when I'm getting off on my rant here, BitMax mining, 24-hour mining. What this is relentlessly bad, right? So the problem is here you have a market where it's like, what's going on? Tether's been hit with the AG, like everything doesn't make sense in the regulatory world. So mass adoption is right around the corner. We're guaranteed of that. There's no other choice. Like if Wile E. Coyote looks down right now, it's going to fall real hard. So there has to be something else. And this is likely the something else. Bitcoin, this beautiful information technology, digital scarcity, blockchain, any form of distributed consensus ledgers, this whole industry is disruptive because it's changing the mindset of people. It's not just about technology. That's one of the things I actually agreed with fucking Craig Wright about. Is this isn't about technology. This is about humans, and this is the way the infrastructure we've built works already. Like there's a reason why governments put in place is because people wanted them there. They felt safer like that with cops and with armies and laws and walkways and stoplights. We did that because we thought it was smart. We gave away our power, but sometimes you just need to take that power back. And that's what happens in a decentralized system. And that's what I think, that's where Craig Wright also sounds like an idiot. It's like, man, how this is just, there's just too much contradiction in what's happening for us to do really well. That's why I don't think the bear market's over. There's no stable line of conjecture between the worlds of regulation and deregulation because Bitcoin doesn't need the regulation. It's built into the code. And if you, right, but who's going to write the code that has that regulation? Because now if you're writing code for robots that kill people or some shit, like, the next 10 years are just, how do you keep up? How does government and regulation keep up? We need a bigger system, well, not a bigger system, but we need a more functional way for us to all collaborate with whatever is taking place in our municipal areas, in our local jurisdictions with regulation. Like ganja shouldn't be illegal anywhere in the world. And now, luckily is the case, it's becoming decriminalized, and now it's becoming legal, and now it's medicinal in certain countries, and now MDMA and psilocybin mushrooms are medicinal when this was all considered criminal, right? So a lot of this, regardless of what niche you're in, adoption just takes time because the truth of something that's good will prevail. And Bitcoin has that truth. Not just Bitcoin, but the idea of decentralization, these ideas of deflation built in inherently into technology. I mean, I've said this before, the fact that you can own something in your pocket that's more powerful than all of what all the computing power the military had just 30 years ago. something like this, maybe 40. I don't know. Technology is an inherently deflationary idea, and that in itself is what we're seeing with Bitcoin. And so I don't want to always just lump or separate things. I want to actually put them together. The conceptual aspect here, the philosophical things that are going on, are mind-boggling, because this is the potential to be new forms of governance and money for our planet, and that could be like a lifesaver. That could lead into us actually doing okay, because we were headed towards we still could be headed towards some really shitty areas as a species, unless we figure out how to collaborate together better and trust each other more. And having an inherently trustless cash system, money, currency, all different forms of investment vehicles, governments, all of that, for abilities for cars to talk to each other, to know that this car has a product on it that breaks, so that these cars can talk, and now drivers are getting paid for the fact that this information is kept, and you're getting rewarded for the fact that you're driving the car, because now the car can tow all the other cars, so that now that problem is fixed. Or they're going to do the same thing in the grocery store. These types of systems are just going to bleed out into everywhere. What people need to do is figure out how the hell they're going to be valuable to other people over the next 10 years, because robots and are going to replace us all at everything. Well, not everything. We can be socially more adaptive than robots ever will be able to. But so the other key function is to make sure we're in places where we have a say in what's going on in this coding structure. And that's why we started the Arcane Bear. That's why I rant about these charts. That's why I'm interested in all the colorful understandings of my irrational capabilities, is because this whole space is going to change the next 15, 20 years, just like the internet did. And it's not just the technology, it's the concepts and the humans behind these concepts that really drive everything forward. Anyways, I've been ranting for long enough. Let's take a few more questions. I'm really impressed. Any decentralized exchanges you have used, enjoyed the experience of? EtherDelta was really interesting. The first time I got to trade on a decentralized exchange, it blew my mind. I had such a great time. Someone says, Mr. Elite has a great question. Hi, Tijo. Do you agree with people like Tonebase says that there's a 95% chance bad coins need to die before the bear market to end? Or do you think the next bull run can include all those coins? No, I disagree with that sentiment. I think 95% of those coins will die. Probably 90% is a better estimate. But that doesn't need to happen. That's just, they're not corollary, right? You don't need the end of the penny stock market for Amazon and Google to do their thing. There's just a different sentiment altogether. There's speculative vehicles that will exist in every market, regardless of how they exist. So saying that one needs to die for the others to go is just, I think it's just, I don't want to be rude because I really like Tonebase. Let's say it doesn't make much sense to me, because every other market operates regardless of whoever else is. That's the whole point of a free market, is like the best will do the best. You don't need to see everything else die. That just seems that seems irrational. That doesn't seem logical to me. That's an irrational sentiment. Will they die? Yeah, probably. Most 90% of any fucking startup company is going to die, regardless of if it's a blockchain company or not. It doesn't make any difference. Great, you're right. Great question, Mr. Elite. I'm doubtful any decentralized exchanges will ever work. Captain Goodness says that's not true. EtherDelta is fantastic and it works perfectly. We just don't have the infrastructure written in the smart contract layer to do stuff like that, because people people aren't learning to take responsibility for themselves yet, which is really what decentralization is supposed to do. It's supposed to put the power back in your hands to manage your assets, and everyone wants to give that power away. It's like, oh, I lost my password, can you recover it for me? And you're like, well, we can't, no, because that's not how Bitcoin works. Like, oh, well, we need a third-party trust custodial for It's like, well, God, the whole point is to get the power back in your hands so you don't give it away again. Because when you give it away, you don't have it anymore. Well, okay. Sure. Yes, decentralization is the only way to go in this sentiment. People just need to learn how to take responsibility for their own selves. And that's a big step. It means they also need to learn how to help other people too. Ugh. It sounds like a beautiful story. Um, nice. Ethan says California is running to move over 200,000 marijuana convictions. Great. Sounds fantastic. Super smart. They need to before they make it legal for big companies to grow. That sounds good. The boss Finn says, "I swear we were friends in another life." Love the rant. Thank you guys for jumping in. I mean, I know the content has been all over the place. You never know what you're going to get with the bear. So I'm really grateful that we have so many supporters of this eclectic thread between DMT and BTC. I really appreciate that. Wake Up Already says U.S. caused and is perpetuating Venezuela's problems. No, that's not true. U.S. sanctions is just our way to destabilize them. Blame it on socialism. Bullshit. All costs. We're not allowed. That's not true. But okay. I have friends that are from Venezuela, so we disagree. I'm going to go with the people that live there and say, I don't know enough, but I know who I would agree with, and it's the people that live there. They probably know better than I do. I'll go with that one. Can we look at Litecoin? Yeah, okay, let's do that. Ether Delta is not long for... yeah, it's a great first rough sketch. Neither was MySpace, but the truth will prevail. Decentralization will come, and it will remove everything. Because Binance is still, it's ripping everyone off to some degree, right? I mean, they're technically the same criminals we tried to remove from the system, where we actually can technically freely trade if we built the infrastructure for it. Wouldn't cost us anything but the gas. It'd be much cheaper. But okay, whatever. It's just about, look, Linux eventually was sold for billions of dollars. It took longer for it to become like the thing that it was because it was open source. There's a lot more argument. That's the whole point, is it has to go through way more argument bullshit than just a centralized company. Sometimes that can do really well. Like centralization can do quite well. Sometimes all you need is 2 brilliant, 3, 4, 5 brilliant people to build $1 billion company. That's it. Right? Sometimes you need like 1,000 people all smashing their heads together to come up with like this one really great idea of something, because that's how you come to a much more sound version of truth. If you just have 5 or 6 people bashing ideas together, it's like, well, you'll get what they think is best, and that's a great version, but its lifespan is much shorter. Well, whatever. It's not like we'll remember Steve Jobs' name in years. That's for sure. Apple was an amazing thing, but it doesn't mean it couldn't have been more had they smashed heads and been more open-minded. Well, that's not true either. I've got like my shirt. I've got a Microsoft. They're all into LSD and mushrooms. Like, I look forward to the day. Yeah, this is the big thing. This is going to be a big thing. Litecoin. Okay, Litecoin. Hey, Tijo, you ever coming to Australia? Yeah, I will. Oh, yeah, I should just... you guys want to take a look at Litecoin? Oh, you want to take a look at Litecoin, or you want me to rant about Litecoin? Litecoin and Bitcoin on the weekly chart from 2013. Look how much of a channel it stayed in. This is why I think charting Litecoin, why charting Bitcoin to the tokens is so important, is because it's a relationship to Bitcoin. The US dollar doesn't have any value. The Bitcoin does, because it's a scarcity model deflationary system. It actually has value, and it works. Oh my God, it's never been hacked. It works. So, okay, right, I am bullish. I'm still bullish. I've always been bullish. We're going to buy as much of it as we can wherever we can. There's endless possibilities. Anyways, the point of this is Litecoin here is stayed in this beautiful channel because I think Bitcoin is money. Litecoin seems more like a currency, and I think you'll need a bunch of currencies. You'll need Digibytes and Moneros, and you'll need all of them, right? Because it's going to require all these different test beds for us understanding how we build an ecosystem at a global scale where no one's really in charge. No one person or one centralized source of authority, because that's where everything goes horribly wrong, or can very easily. So Litecoin's relationship to Bitcoin is very important, I think. Litecoin to US dollar, on the other hand, starts to gives a different storyboard. Now, this is, I mean, I see no. Let's look at just this particular. Let's look at it on a daily. A daily will give us a better idea here. Okay. So on the daily, we broke through the cloud on Litecoin twice, 2 clouds. It had a beautiful run to get to this space too. On the MACD right now, it's pointing down and just about to converge, or well, I guess diverge. Well, it converged and now it's also diverging. I think it's diverging below this line, yeah, and it converged up here, so it crossed over. So you have two breaks to the cloud. First break here, second break here. I'll zoom in so hopefully that's a little more apparent. My mouse is going really slow. Why is this? Unimportant. Okay, oh no. Okay, here we go. You guys want to see the screen? Oh, just my silly face. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart with Litecoin. My mouse is going a little slow. Probably. It's like it's glitching out a little bit. I wonder why that is. Okay, there we go. Much smoother. Okay, there we go. We can zoom in on the cloud. It's still laggy. Okay, so we broke through the cloud here and then here. We haven't broken through the Madrid, which is basically just sequences of moving averages. I believe this is the 100. You have the 200 down here, which is moving averages. These are all exponential moving averages. So the 200 moving average on the daily is likely our support. So we could see Litecoin come back down to $47. Now, the big question becomes, were we right in our assertion and did we break down below 25 and into the $1,600 area, or was that the bottom? Or we'll come back down to that bottom again, I'm pretty sure. So for Litecoin, I think we'll probably come back down to test here. Now, if we break, let's look out a week, 2 weeks, June. If we break $65 on the downtrend here, I suspect that we'll continue to fall to around the $40 to $50 area. Do we see those $10 to $20 lows that I had suspected would come in if we saw Bitcoin breakdown? Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's not off the table, still a possibility. Now, the probability of that possibility, I'm not willing to quite say at this particular moment, but it's not as high as it was when we were back here. That's for sure. The bullish momentum and the abstract things that have happened in the S&P 500 and the dollar, we're in la la land. So I'm not going to pretend to know anything that's going on. I'm not even going to pretend to know. Sometimes I pretend to know because I can generally be right by doing that. But right now I'm not even going to guess because this is just total la la land. Anyway, so with Litecoin here, the $47 looks like a strong area of it's trying to pull us back down, and we broke through the cloud. If we break through the $78 area, that could be nice. We could see a retest. So it depends on what Bitcoin does. So I would put it on, well, if Bitcoin goes up, it tests that $5,900 area, which is still a possibility. Now, the probability of that I don't necessarily want to say because it's not financial advice. Will also change what Litecoin does. If Bitcoin goes up, Litecoin will follow that suit, absolutely. And if it does so, we'll look through a break through 78 and 80, and that could have an upside potential at least to retouch that $91 to $95 area that we had seen previously. And then also on the downside, if it breaks the $62 area on the cloud on the Madrid here, I would test it at 40. So I mean, for the upside, it's probably just as good as it's almost equivalent to the downside. You have 33% of the upside for Litecoin at this particular moment, and around 33 to the downside. So I personally wouldn't enter a position into it until I saw more of a clear direction in where I was going to be able to take some type of swing or momentum. Some people just are buy and hold. It's not my style. I like practicing adding and removing profits into different positions, whether it's property or business or going to have fun or whatever it might be. So with Litecoin here, everything's in the air until I see a more clear direction from Bitcoin would be my assertion. Although, I mean, with Raven, we jumped right off one of the strong support lines of the moving averages, and then we had a 20% bounce, or 16 to 20% bounce from like 850 to 950 satoshis. We bounced right below this moving average here. What was it on the hourly? I think it was the 200 on the hourly, or the 4 hour, or 4 hour. That's a 4 hour, I think. Anyways, so with Raven, we'll chart it up here. You know, this nice little bounce. God, since I plugged that keyboard in the mouse, it's just been atrocious. A 20% bounce in Raven, right? So for a quick trade, you see the crossover. I mean, you don't trade like this. You don't just like, oh, there's a crossover that converts. We're gonna follow that trade. Right? You follow a good assertion on a bet here. 20% in what's the time frame too, or even you catch, let's say even just a slice of that. Let's say 8% in 1 day. It's 8% in 1 day, right? That's a nice day trade. Whereas in comparison, if you bought it at 250 and you held and it's coming all the way down, but you could have sold up here and you could be buying back in here, or probably even close to the 727 mark. I'll be really excited for Raven coin again wow, there's actually a lot of support. Hold on. I'm looking at Raven coin now for anyone that cares. Dang, Raven coin has a really nice bout of support at this 950 mark. So this entry for this wick that we got down here and that 20% bounce, the volume profile showed that almost, but you have to use almost the entire data for Raven coin, and with only like a $50 million liquidity pool, you know, this is we could see another nice bounce. Although it's thin, the $700 mark, or the 700 Satoshi mark, looks stronger. But again, we could say the 400 to 500 Satoshi mark is probably we could return to, especially the way we returned in the previous wave with Raven. We don't have enough data to show because Raven started off way down here. So we saw a much bigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get us up to this one. For this 1, 2, 3, 4. So this doesn't invalidate our wave 4 yet either, by the way, right? A wave 4 could still be in play. It would just be a longer sideways wave 5, which means we might not see that crazy peak out of the wave 5, but that would still be a huge run even if it came out to test the top. So again, this is all dependent on Bitcoin in my guess. If Bitcoin starts to run, it could push Raven coin back down to the 695 spot. It seems to run in opposition to each other. Raven does quite well when Bitcoin's coming down. It's been a nice inverse play. Anyways, that's aside from Litecoin, but I wanted to jump into Raven coin for fun because it looks interesting. So we'll take a few more questions. Again, the random rant nights. Who would have suspected? Random rant nights. Who would have suspected? Okay. The boss Finn says, get yourself some Digibyte. I appreciate that. Digibyte, yeah, I think there's, again, the room for decentralization requires many choices. And I like Digibyte, just as there's going to be room for all of these players. And I think they've got something good. I think they've got something good there, right? It's about infrastructure. It's about community. It's about development with the people that need the technology. Adoption doesn't just come from people needing it. It comes from people helping other people. And Digibyte's been one of those communities that seems proactive with trying to help their community. So I appreciate the $5. I mean, or I guess the rant about Digibyte. When was the last time you lost money on a trade? Oh yeah, I lost about $1,000 on a trade this week. But that was I was being stupid. Okay, so here's the thing. I broke one of my own rules. My rule of trading is I had some friends come over and I was still in my position when they came over, and I was up like 12 to 13%. on the trade for that what, it was like a 24-hour trade I was in. And my rule of thumb is if I'm going out to do something or if I have friends over and I'm in profit, I just close my position. Or if I'm even close to my my stop loss, I just close the position there too. Because I'm like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even want to worry about it. We'll just cut it loose. So I didn't, and because I didn't cut it loose and I didn't pay attention, not only it was in Raven, so it was had risky downside to the play as well, right? But so by the time I came back, the night was over. We had woke up in the morning. It's like I was down. So I had been up, like I was up, and then I was down. Because I didn't close in a profit and I didn't set a stop loss because I was live trading. Sometimes when I'm just like, when I'm in a play, I'm like, I won't stop loss. I'm like, I'm just watching it. I've got it on the screen while I'm cooking food and stuff. I get into it. So I broke my own rule. I had people over and I just stopped paying attention and I forgot about the fact that I was even in a trade because that's what happens. So that was about 4 days ago. Yep. Happens all the time. You just try to offset it with your wins. Like, great, yeah, and I had two good wins in a row. And normally I try to cut that lot. Like, that shouldn't have been a loss. I was just being silly. Like, I broke multiple main rules of my strategy. But hey, that's what happens when you're playing. I don't get caught up on it like making or losing money on trades. Some days that's a little more frustrating. You're like, oh god damn it! All I had to do was hit close and follow my own rules, and everything would have been fine. Like now I feel like a schmuck, right? It's like, oh, you should have listened to yourself. You're just like, you knew better. It's always silly when you know better. Okay, my throat's a little sore. I think I had an allergy from my dog because I've had a sore throat for like 2 weeks. I've been giving him like a dandruff shampoo, and I start to feel a little better. But my throat is still a little coarse. So I'm going to dive offline. Thank you guys for joining us on the random rant in the evening. What we're going to start doing is every Sunday morning we'll do our regular giveaways. I don't think we're going to do the Wednesday night ones. It was fun. I'll just do the vlogs. But tonight's show was fun. And so this Sunday, for all of you, be sure to tune in. I think it'll be probably somewhere between 7 and 9 a.m. We'll give like 5 free t-shirts away to people who can answer random trivia things that I come up with while drinking my coffee. Oh, yeah. And that's what we'll do. So join us Sunday. I really appreciate it. I know a bunch of you are probably all core supporters of my random ranting, so I'm very, very grateful of that. I'm diving off for the rest of the evening. Still with the Arcane Bear from myself, the rest of the Arcane Bear admins, and I'm sure the rest of the Arcane Bear family. We love you. Thank you for sharing your time with us. We know it's extremely valuable, and we'll see you guys on the other side.